Guess what, dude? Guess what, dude? Guess what, dude? Go ahead and introduce yourself. Go ahead and introduce yourself, dude. I got me a chair, dude. Spin that motherfucker. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Spin that motherfucker. Spin that motherfucker. What are you talking about? Motherfucker's got the chair now. You feel me? You feel me? I can do these now. Yee. Hey, yo, what the fuck? What the fuck you talking about? Nigga, what? What you talking about? And I'm back. I'm back on regularly scheduled programming. And what more to get back into action than a Tier Zoo video? You always get me right, bro. You always get me right. You always get me right, bro. Tier Zoo. You always get the people right, dude. With these videos. These bitches are peak. They're peak. Now let's get it. Let's watch this. Let's watch this. Let's watch the video. Now this is about worms, man. I don't got no special intro for that. You know, I usually come in with the intro and shit. I don't got nothing. This shit is nasty. And what was that one worm? It was a worm movie we used to watch. There was a worm movie. He was eating worms to like prove himself or something. He had to eat like 12 worms or some shit, and he ate them in different ways. That shit was so nasty. What movie was that? It was a movie and a book. I think it's more famous for being a book though. It was called Worms. Like, all right, though. Let's get it. You know, some shit be so nasty. You just get the twitching and shit. Like, you get the curling on yourself and shit. Worms might be one of the most disgusting creatures on this earth. I think number one most disgusting creature on this earth is rats and mice. Those I can't. They're so nasty, bro. I can't stand the sight of a mouse. That shit is so nasty to me, bro. Like mice, I hate them, bro. I hate mice, bro. Just pure, like, just disgust. Like, I probably throw up looking at a mice. That shit is so nasty.
The humble worm may be one of the most overlooked characters.
And how are you gonna make a worm tearless? I only know about one worm
in the entire game. Though they may seem powerless and pathetic, in reality the worm faction has access to some of the rarest, most extraordinary special abilities in the game.
Let me know something. Let me know
something.
something.
A nightmare to play against. But which worm builds are dominating the meta, and which are just bait? Find out in the worm tier list.
He tore that nigga in one bite. Swallowed him whole. Swallowed him whole. Pause. Pause. You seen that bird? Hold on, replay that.
Which are just bait? Find out in the worm tier list.
Tore him apart and swallowed him whole. Pause, bro. That's crazy. Hey, yo. Bird
but
throat.
before we dive into the rankings, what even is a worm? Like, even though they're the most numerous creatures in the game, technically there's no such thing as a single all-encompassing worm faction.
Nah, bird throat is crazy. Bird throat. It's crazy.
Worm builds are actually part of several different, distantly related factions, but there are many similarities they share. All worms have long, tube-shaped character models with minimal or non-existent appendages, enabling them to weave in and out of tight spaces easily. Simple as it may be, this has proven to be one of the most reliable body plans in the history of the game, as worms have been in the game since pretty much patch 1.0. As far as base stats go, worms are not particularly stacked. Now, credit where it's due, because of their excellent regenerative perks.
Low intelligence, low power, low defense, low mobility, low perception, decently high stealth, and high HP. Oh, because they can regenerate, right?
And uniquely advanced burrowing abilities, they do score pretty high in both vitality and stealth.
Trash.
And there are exceptions that
Trash.
score high in other stats as well.
D tier. D tier. D tier characters.
But in general, they have below average base stats in almost every skill. With simple brains, no weapons, no armor, and no legs, the average worm is pretty lacking in their intelligence, power, defense, and mobility stats.
I don't want to watch this video. That should make my back hurt. Look at them ants eating this nigga up.
The exceptions are where it gets interesting though, so without further ado, let's dig into the tier list. First in F tier, the Ice Worm. This build takes the burrowing capabilities of the worm in an unconventional direction and opts to dig through glaciers rather than solid earth.
What?
This is a pretty unique gimmick as it grants them completely uncontested access to glacial algae as a food source. But unfortunately, it seems like unlocking the ability to burrow through ice must have cost all their evolution points, because the Ice Worm has some pretty glaring flaws in its strategy. First, the Ice Worm's stealth stat is abysmal. Its jet black appearance offers zero camouflage against the icy white surroundings, making them extremely easy for birds to spot from above and pick off. A few extra points into snow camouflage would go a long way here. And the second flaw, ice worms ironically have almost zero freezing resistance or heat resistance. They die immediately if temperatures drop below freezing, and
what? Why are y'all even why do y'all even exist in the cold then? If y'all don't got no temperature, temperature, Yeah, I'm fucking retarded, but I can't think right now. Temperature fluctuating abilities type shit.
melt if temperatures rise to even a few degrees above freezing. Luckily, due to a quirk of the game's physics engine, the temperature of glacial ice is fairly stable at their exact Goldilocks zone. But as we've seen lately, relying on glaciers as a stable habitat is quite the gamble. It wouldn't take too much to make this build completely broken, but for now, it's the lowest ranked worm on this list.
Dang.
Also in F tier, we have the Earthworm. Yes, it's true, the archetypal worm everyone knows and loves is a low tier. Earthworms have terrible stats. It has no offensive moves, no armor, and isn't quick enough to rely on speed to escape attacks. What's worse, even the one special ability Earthworms are believed to have is a bit overrated. Earthworms, like most worms, can regenerate from damage and potentially even survive grievous wounds, if they manage to get away. But that's a big if. Most builds that spec into high passive health regen also tend to spec into the autotomy perk as well. This perk allows the user's appendages to break off if grabbed, allowing them to escape a grappling attack. This is a costly ability and one that I normally don't speak very highly of, but situationally it can be extremely clutch. Earthworms do not have this perk, and so when attacked, they often cannot do anything except tank the damage and try to burrow away. If that doesn't work, they're completely out of options. In D tier, we have the Leech. As the literal namesake for the term used to describe deliberately being carried by the rest of your team, I actually think leeches are done a bit dirty. Yes, many leech players do fit the description, attacking the player in a higher weight class and just coasting off the free XP. But there are plenty of leech players who play an honest, active hunting strategy and have to fight to survive, same as any other predatory build. Like most other aquatic builds, they thrive off of their strong matchup against low tiers like frogs, and spawn camp them mercilessly. Leeches share the same garbage base stats as most other worms though, and with lackluster defenses and mobility, they still get one-shot by fish, birds, and snakes all the time. Frankly, the parasite strategy might actually be the less viable of the two, as leeches are not well protected at all when attached to a host, and can easily get picked off by perceptive players.
Horsehair
worm. In C
worm.
tier, we have the horsehair worm. This nematode takes the burrowing proficiency of the worm faction and uses it for an unorthodox purpose, burrowing into flesh. Horsehair worm players opt for the parasitoid game plan, infecting their hosts when they drink from contaminated water. Infected. It then uses its burrowing ability to pierce the digestive tract and hide out in the insect's circulation.
Just like that, it was a movie that The Rock played in. When he was like, lightning, thunder. He was like, lightning, you want some of this lightning? You want some of this thunder? That white nigga? what's his name? What's that shit called? It was like in the jungle or some shit. And then he was peeing in the ocean, and she told, oh no, he was peeing in the lake, and she was like, don't do that. Worms will swim up your dick and shit. He was like, oh shit. I don't know why I just told that story, but
Regulatory system, leeching
you know,
XP from it as it continues its playthrough relatively unimpeded. But once the worm reaches its max level,
no, that shit genuinely had me scared to like even pee in my own toilet, bro. That ass. Bro.
it activates its special ability, Mind Control, to change the insect's quest objective marker to the nearest body of water. Once the insect player self-destructs, the worm burrows out of its body and continues with the rest of its playthrough. This strategy is incredibly effective and requires very little technical skill, as once you successfully infect a host, you can farm XP entirely AFK. Mind Control is one of the most powerful abilities in the game, and it's shocking the devs gave it to a random worm build. Still, as with any parasitoid playstyle, the main downside is that your survival is tied to that of your host, so if you pick a scrub, you might get one-shot when they accidentally wander too close to a spider's den. And this isn't just a hypothetical. In fact, in some servers, the fish player base is literally reliant on janitoring the self-destructing players. Still, at least by being an internal parasite, they don't run the risk of being picked off like the leech does. In B tier, we have the fireworm, a marine build with excellent defensive stats. Fireworms have toxic spines, which inflict serious damage on any player dumb enough to attack them. This effect is powerful enough that even large tank builds cannot just eat the damage.
Damn.
And
That turtle was tired of that shit. He just smacked his
This
ass.
effect
Look.
is powerful enough that even large tank
Look.
builds cannot
Bitch,
just eat the
stupid
damage
bitch.
and will learn
Hey, this turtle funny
quickly
as
not
hell.
to mess with them. Unfortunately for fireworm mains, because their spikes are small and fragile, they cannot pierce thick chitin or keratin armor. This means any player with a thick exoskeleton can completely negate the fireworm's defense and crush them like they would any other worm. Some fish mains have also spec'd into the beak attribute in order to be able to do the same thing. Parrotfish and pufferfish are a huge problem for builds that rely on defensive abilities, as their powerful beaks can crush armor and don't take damage from poison spikes. So, fireworms are untouchable to a lot of players, but there's enough counterplay prevalent in the meta right now that I can't give them a high tier rank.
Giant
Also in
tube
B
worm.
tier, we have the tube worm. Of all the lazy AFK XP farming builds in the game, there isn't a single one that goes to as extreme of lengths to do so as the tube worm. The tube worm has crazy high toxic damage resistance, not because it needs to tank venom damage, not because it preys upon builds that use poison for defense. No, the tube worm needs toxic damage resistance because its strategy is to set up shop next to deep sea hydrothermal vents and basically eat the sulfur jetting out from them. It absorbs hydrogen sulfide using its plume, and because of a special team-up ability they have with bacteria, they're actually able to use that as an XP source, meaning they don't even need to really eat at all. They don't need to find food, they just constantly absorb the noxious sulfur spewing out of these vents. Because the sulfide turns water around these vents toxic, the tube worm doesn't have to worry about attacks from predators. They do, however, have to worry about the vents shutting down. Hydrothermal vents do not last forever, and when they go dark, or erupt into lava flows, it's GG for entire colonies of tube worms. An incredibly effective XP farming technique, but like a lot of these types of strats, it works until it doesn't. In A tier, we have the Velvet Worm. This build has even worse defensive stats than the other worms, as it doesn't have the same slime coating that the others do. However, it makes up for it by converting that slime ability into one of the most unique abilities in the game, a projectile attack. The Velvet Worm can fire a glue-like slime from its papillae. This slime attack deals no damage, it's not toxic, and doesn't hit with near enough force to be threatening on its own. However, the slime is sticky and hardens quickly, debuffing the target's speed stat and potentially even completely immobilizing it. This slime is extremely strong once hardened, similar to Spider Silk in terms of what it's capable of immobilizing. Even builds with vastly higher power stats are not safe from being essentially frozen by the Velvet Worm's attacks. Now, while this is no doubt a powerful ability, it has plenty of limitations. It is woefully inaccurate and will struggle to hit smaller or evasive targets consistently. It is also relatively short-ranged, only being able to hit targets a few body lengths away. And because it doesn't deal any direct damage, Even if the Velvet Worm manages to pin down a build like the Centipede or Scorpion, it'll still be taking on considerable counterattack risk when it tries to approach. And
Bobbit
last in
worm.
A tier, we have the Bobbit Worm. This build is easily one of the most terrifying things, not just in the Worm faction, but in the entire game. The Bobbit Worm is a mid-sized benthic worm build which can burrow up to 10 feet deep into the ocean floor. However, unlike most burrowing worm builds, the Bobbit Worm is not a scavenger. It's not burrowing to look for food scraps or to escape predators. No, the Bobbit Worm is an ambush build. It lies in wait, and as soon as another player wanders close enough to its burrow, it strikes,
That
using what
motherfucker
may
be
genuinely
eating
be
niggas.
the most wicked pair of mandibles in the entire game. These powerful jaws inflict devastating damage, while simultaneously hooking into their target so that it can be dragged down below the ocean floor, never to be seen again. Now, despite their ferocity, I don't want to overhype the Bobbit Worm. Though they are menacing, skilled players can play around their threat range pretty easily. Their low perception stats make them pretty inaccurate when lunging towards their targets. Their attacks are deceptively slow, and as long as you position yourself even slightly above the seabed, they should be reactable and easily dodged.
Damn.
Skilled fish players have even been known to drive Bobbit Worm players out of their territory by teaming up and mobbing their burrows.
What?
This requires a successful perception check with a pretty high DC, but if your party is competent enough, you really shouldn't have
Damn,
to
he
worry
just weaved his ass. Y'all seen that shit?
a perception check with a pretty high DC, but if your party is
Stupid ass
competent
nigga.
enough, you really shouldn't have to worry about Bobbit Worms that much. Despite
That's
being
crazy.
easily the most terrifying build on this list, the Bobbit Worm's poor frame data and predictable game plan keeps it out of the higher tiers.
Hammerhead
And in S
flatworm.
tier, we
S
have the
tier.
Hammerhead Flatworm. Flatworms are the solo hunters of the worm faction, and the Hammerhead Flatworm is one of the best at it. They're
Yo,
faster
he
than
just
other
sucked that
worms,
snail
which
up.
isn't saying a lot, but still, it's relevant. They possess a devastatingly powerful neurotoxic slime, the same toxin found in pufferfish and blue-ringed octopus,
Did that ant just instantly die?
which they employ both offensively and defensively.
Damn.
But their most recognizable feature, their wide, flat head, was a bit of a gamble in terms of how they spent their evolution points. By specking into the Hammerhead attribute, these flatworms sacrificed their ability to dig efficiently. But in doing so, they greatly boosted their perception stat. Similar to the Hammerhead shark, the flatworm's hammerhead is loaded with chemoreceptors, enabling the worm to track down prey by following its scent. In addition to their toxic defense, flatworms are the best regenerators in the game, able to heal all the way back to full health even when cut into tiny pieces. They can really
What?
only be permanently defeated by non-physical damage, such as dehydration, salt, acid, that sort of thing. Because it's borderline unkillable through conventional combat, the Hammerhead
That shit is
Flatworm is the
broken.
only worm build to achieve the rank of S tier.
Is that the
The
end?
Hammerhead Flatworm's excellent tracking abilities ensure that even without eyes, it knows exactly where it's going. Thank you so much for
Well, that's the end of that. I guess we got the worm tier list. You hear me? We racking these bitches up. I think the next one is the. Let me see. Next one is the reptile tier list. That one's gonna be some heat. Y'all know that shit gonna be some heat. It's tier zoo. You hear me? Go ahead, go ahead, and like this video, bro. Let me go ahead and like this, bro. Would you still love me if I was a worm? Y'all see this? Go ahead. The turtle punching the fireworm after it had to spit him out, kill me, bro. You feel me? Double upload today, so be prepared for another upload. I don't know what I'm gonna upload, but I'm gonna find something to react to. Probably some Jubilee, you know, something, bro. But peace out.